Spider-Man Far From Home, a movie I was really looking forward to. Unfortunately, it is a movie I absolutely disliked. I really don't like saying that about Marvel movies because when I try to think of Marvel movies, I try to think of fun times at the cinema. I try to think of escapism, mindless escapism. But unfortunately, Far From Home took this to the next level, to a level I didn't want to see. It made Spider Man the front and center with Tony Stark in the background. And here's the problem, spoilers for Avengers Endgame, Tony Stark has died. Now, the Marvel Cinematic Universe loves connecting their movies, and they love to add rosters of characters, but what Spider Man Far From Home does wrong is crucial. It undermines the lead character. The first one, it was okay to do this. It was okay to make him a friendly neighborhood Spider Man who was still optimistic, who was still going out there and fighting crime and listening to Tony Stark, but this one just totally tones it down for a really somber first half. And I know it wasn't trying to be somber. I know it's trying to get Tom Holland character back into the character of I miss Tony Stark and I miss my mentor, but it really just slows down the film. We don't want to see him complaining because we know he's going to end up fighting Mysterio, Quentin Beck in the final act, and that's another thing. Jake Gyllenhaal's character completely ruined. This is a cookie cutter character as early as they come. It's as if they just wrote it down first draft and said, "Here's your villain. You know, you're gonna be. We think you're good, like Jeff Bridges and Iron Man," and then just turn the tables. And I was so disappointed because I actually expected Jake Gyllenhaal to bring some fun to this. He does. He's having fun with the role, but it's just so hard to enjoy when it feels so artificial. When Jake Gyllenhaal has a fleet of drones and he sinisterly looks into his microphone on his ear chip and he says, "We're gonna destroy Spider-Man with my drones." It felt like Iron Man 2, which was awful, not awful, but just so lackluster in its own right that you get a movie like this and you think this is 9 years after Iron Man 2 and they're still making these lackluster, stupid villains that are based on technology. They don't even have really good motivations. Quentin Beck's motivation is that he wasn't listened to by Tony Stark, and they actually cut a photo from Captain America Civil War and copy and paste Jake Gyllenhaal's face into the shot. Why? So, yeah, I had problems with that. I had problems with Spider-Man swinging around on a carnival with a mask on. His friends are always going to be in danger, it seems. It seems there's never going to be an actual scenario where he has to rescue Mary Jane directly from a villain, or I'm sorry, Zendaya. There's never a character that isn't his really close circle of friends. And by the way, I shouldn't use the H word, but I really dislike Ned and Angerine Rice's relationship, future Squirrel Girl, because she has just been in this film, Betty Brant, and they just ruined it. I mean, they have Betsy Brant in this film just to date Ned, and it takes away. Where is Spider-Man and at least Zendaya just getting some communication in? It's the most boring cliche stuff. When Scorsese talks about superhero films being amusement parks, I think right back to Spider-Man Far From Home because it's as an amusement park as you can come. I mean, there's the thrills, there's the chase scenes, there's the comic relief. J.B. Smoove is a teacher. Martin Starr is also returning as a teacher. And instead of just adding funny dialogue, which they get, they should just be able to shout out a couple funny lines. It's really just like, why are these teachers here? Oh yeah, they're just here to make the movie funny because Spider-Man isn't enough to do that. So yeah, it has fun parts. The set pieces are terrible. There's a scene where the plane, Happy lands a plane in a field of flowers, and I'm like, okay, where are we? And then Spider-Man just starts crying on the jet, saying he can't be the new Iron Man. It's so forgettable. It's so repetitive. And it's dull. And I don't like that. I don't like that I have to sit and wait for the character to start fighting the bad guy. And also, dream sequences. I don't like dream sequences. And this film uses them way too much. Yeah. Overall, Far From Home is a step down from Homecoming. That movie completely cut out his origin story, which is fine. If you want to avoid showing Bruce Wayne's parents die again, if you want to avoid showing the training, avoid that. Start with a whole new script. In this case, they decided it would be boring to show Peter Parker's becoming Spider-Man, so they just went right into it with Marissa Tomei as his hot aunt. But that's where the film fails. It just thinks that's funny or that's satisfying enough to just leave it there. There's no character development. It refuses to develop its characters, except for Quentin Beck. It decides to add a little bit in there about Mysterio, but that is so cookie cutter and boring, and you don't want to see that. So, what I thought of Spider-Man Far From Home was it could have been a lot better if they had spent way more time on Peter Parker, spent more time in Queens. I think the idea of going to Far From Home is an interesting concept, but it just didn't work here. For the next one, stick close to the belt. I hope they just focus on his backstory instead of just showing documentaries about Black Panther and Iron Man on the plane as Easter eggs. Just show us Peter Parker's backstory. That's why I'm here, not to see more about Black Panther's backstory. I want to see Black Panther 2 for that. Anyway, Spider-Man Far From Home. Very average. Martin Scorsese was right. Cinema.